Hello, everybody. Glad to see so many faces. Wow, we're really crammed into this space. Hey, if you take out your phone, oh, it went away. Can we put the QR code back up for a second? Is it too late for that? If everybody could take out their phone and just snap that and be ready at the end. If you really like the talk, then please send me a rating. If you don't like the talk, then don't do the rating. Just come see me afterwards and give me that feedback privately. A little review joke there for you. Didn't catch that. So, hello everybody, my name is James Wirth. I'm with Citation Labs. Really excited to be here today. We're going to talk about AI answer tracking and how we make sure we don't fall into the pitfalls along the way, how we try to do it, essentially the right way. A lot of things have changed for us in this space. This isn't a talk about AI changing everything, although, it's changed everything. So I'm going to try to make it practical and talk about measurement, how we know how we're doing with AI answers, being able to track that in a way that we can send up the flagpole, that we can keep ourselves honest in the work that we're doing, and we can make sure we're looking at the things that are working and do more of those and avoid the things that aren't working, because we're all just kind of figuring this out together. So, is this one supposed to change back here too? That one only is changing. It's okay if I need to look up at the screen. Traditionally, we've had to measure search engine optimization with essentially, it's getting closer. Here we go. Awesome. Okay, so traditionally we've measured clicks, traffic, ranking. A lot of that has changed. Thank you, that's perfect. They still matter, but AI search really changes essentially the unit of visibility, the lens that we're using to focus. I'm double fisting it here, so hopefully I won't get confused and start trying to talk into this. Super great, so I'll try to keep these right here. I was going to try to be authentic. My boss gave a talk yesterday. He carries around this big water ball in his pocket. He's the only person I know that can pull that off, especially on stage. I was going to bring coffee up, but then that would be really confusing with the three of them. I forgot my fanny pack with a little pop-out cup holder, so it wouldn't work anyway. So I'm stuck with just the two, but hopefully we'll cover some good things anyway. But now it's not just about where do we rank, it's also about where do we appear in the answer. Were we cited? Were we mentioned? Were we recommended? And which sources were used to support that AI-generated answer? And maybe most importantly, what did the answer actually say about our brand, or our product, or our service? And that means that AI visibility is essentially messier than traditional search visibility. And it's not just the blue link anymore. It's an answer built from sources shaped by retrieval and influenced by how the system understands the topic, the brand, the offering, the competitive set. And so before we talk about measurement, we need to acknowledge that the thing that we're measuring has changed. Are you having to do it manually each time? I appreciate that effort. The AI, the AV people are amazing here all throughout the show. Yes, please give it to everyone. It's awesome. So I really appreciate that effort. And that's the core problem is just because your visibility changed doesn't mean that the work that you did changed it. And it's an easy pitfall. That's the woe of the talk title, tying it back to the talk title, that's the woe. And so we're looking for the wins, but we need to look at those through a different lens because a lot of things shift and many more of the components that drive the end result, traditionally the 10 blue links and now the AI answer, a lot of those have been exposed to us. And so understanding those layers that are associated with the process, they can help us know where to focus our efforts. And now the sources change and the competitors move and the retrieval patterns change, and most of those are somewhat consistent with what we've dealt with in the past, but a lot of that is new. And the same prompt may deliver a different answer from not just one measurement time to the next, but one refresh to the next. We talked a lot early on about probabilistic versus deterministic model, and if we really unpack things, we can start to see how that matters and why things change over time, why the same prompt may produce a different answer every time we look at it. So yes, we should measure our movement, but movement alone is not necessarily proof of impact. A spike might be a win, it also might be noise. It might be the whole category shifting, or it might be one competitor temporarily dropping out of the answer set or the retrieval set beneath it. So we really need to think with a different focus as we're measuring AI answer tracking and visibility than we have in the past. And that's why the first discipline of AI answer tracking is making sure that we are practicing restraint. Because measurement is observable, but the actual, sorry, I'm blanking on the word, I gotta go back. Can we go back one slide? Attribution, thank you. Attribution is the hard part. So, one way we can think about this is we can ask ourselves two different questions. Number one, are we present? And number two, are we prominent? Presence is simply, do we show up? Traditionally, did we show up on page 1 of search results, or were we in position 1 of search results? But prominence is how much, to what extent, how much does it matter when we show up? Is it accurate? Is it helpful? These are the questions that we need to ask now. So we have these two, essentially, levels of Zoom. One is, are we present? That's sort of yes or a no. But number two is, how prominent are we? And is that actually representing the brand the way that we want it to? So we can think about number two there, prominence, also just from the perspective of the example here, recommendations. The recommendation rank in the AI answer. Are we in them? That's presence. Are we prominent? Meaning, are we in the top 3? Are we below that? Are we just sort of the also add at the bottom of the list? We want to move up over time, and understanding and having a model and a blueprint to do that is the key. Because each of these should really be looked at separately. Citations, we can track those now. That's new. We couldn't do that before. Are we mentioned or not? A lot of AI visibility tools, Zofu, our tool that we built for this purpose included, can show us whether we're mentioned or not. Are we recommended? That's that rank, the list of actual solutions that are being presented. But none of these will determine whether or not we actually have positive framing. Framing from the perspective of sentiment, framing from the perspective of positive or negative reputation, or even framing from the perspective of, is this actually accurate and helpful about our brand? Are we being talked about in the right ways? Are details, are attributes missing? Are they not seeing the full picture? They're not necessarily trying to provide an unbalanced, comprehensive answer for my brand alone. So if things are missing, it's on us to make sure that we get those things into the mix. And so none of these things, showing up in none of these things, or even being prominent in any of these areas, guarantees that we're actually going to have positive framing. So we might want visibility, but that actually could hurt our brand if that reputation, if that framing is not accurate. So now we can start to talk about presence as what, and prominence where, and that changes based on the layer. At the citation level, are we cited or not? That's presence, but is that citation actually helpful would determine the prominence of being cited in that AI answer. But then what if we're cited but we're just ghosted, a ghost mention, where we see ourselves in the citation list but we don't see ourselves mentioned in the actual answer, sometimes called a ghost citation, or a ghost mention, excuse me. That matters as well, and that changes where we might want to focus our work, from just getting cited in the first place to making sure that the AI systems have the right descriptors or attributes associated with our brand or our offering or our service, so that we're mentioned in the right context. And then we can talk about being prominent in the mention itself by being associated with those elements of our brand that are meaningful and accurate. So that's another layer of taking it to prominence. And then the recommendation, are we included? Okay, great, we're present. Are we prominent? Are we in the top 3 results, for example? Are we in position 1? On citationlabs.com, we did a focus group case study, and it was very eye-opening to see how many people, humans, where we tracked had them speak out loud, and we tracked their cursor movements, chose the #1 recommendation rank as their solution. It's worth a read by checking out citationlabs.com on our blog. And it was really surprising to see that. And then the framing. Are we described by the AI, in the AI answer, is being present, but prominence would be, is it accurate? Does it represent my brand in the right light? Is it actually helpful and germane to the discussion? So presence and prominence only matter when we look at the layer. And this is why, here's why essentially tracking gets messy. Because of all of the components involved in the generation of that answer, it's extensive and it changes very quickly. So the source can change, the competitor can move, the retrieval path can shift. A new model can stop using query fanouts, which we're going to talk in a second, as much as the previous model did. All of these things matter, all of them can shift, and the challenge is built on all these moving parts, which makes it challenging to be able to monitor effectively. Fanouts are worth a solid, not just honorable mention, but not just presence in here, but prominence in this discussion, because this is the level of complexity that makes measuring our AI answer visibility extra challenging. I may have a query like, my prompt might be, show me the best SEO software tools or services for enterprise level agencies, something like that. I get really wordy with my prompts. I probably use a lot of my tokens just in the prompt itself, the original prompt itself. But then behind the scenes, the AI system is calibrating on all these different aspects of what that could mean to determine the best and enterprise and SEO and tool and services. So they're going to classify based on intent. They're going to decompose that into these individual queries that they run that could return things like pricing and integration requirements and the potential outcomes, the use cases, the reviews, because I said best, so that's going to trigger some sort of qualitative review of determining what best means. So they might use reviews, they might use alternatives, they could look for comparison pages, and we can start to see in this spectrum here, we can start to see where things like listicles and best ofs and ranked pages and comparisons can be helpful to the AI model in order to help them ground themselves and inform themselves in the answer. I'm going way too slow here, I gotta speed up. And I want to give a shout out to Search Console because your query fanouts are available to you without paying for any additional tool. For a limited time only, act now while the models begin to decrease their reliance on Google making those API calls to return the query fanouts as they cache the web themselves. So model advance by model advance, we're seeing fewer and fewer query fanouts run in many cases. So when we usually look at Search Console, we're sorting by clicks in descending order. Flip that around and sort by clicks in ascending order and look at all the zero click-through rates that have perfect formatting, are broken down into different categories, and you can understand what the AI systems are looking for in your own Search Console. You might have to get creative depending on how big your website is. You might have to pull it into Looker Studio or use another tool, etc. But it's worth harvesting these now because these are starting to go away to some degree. We're likely to see that continue more and more until they can monetize it and sell it back to us in some sort of dashboard of some kind. There certainly is precedent for that. So keep an eye on that. Take advantage of this. They break it down into categories. You can really get an in-depth view into that. But I want to talk about what a false win looks like so we can see what the good wins are. On the left, this is just raw campaign lift. So I measure, I do some things, I measure again, and it looks like the before and after looks great. 16-point increase. You can even make it look more dramatic if you use a percentage differential calculation here. Then it looks like a really big number. That looks exciting, but if I add a control and I measure that against the control, then I see a different picture here. If I went up 16 points, but the control went up 10 points, then really what I can honestly claim and defend is a 6-point length. And so we want a repeatable process here. Name the layer, citations, mentions, recommendations, framing. Then we want to show the movement and then measure that against the control. We can isolate the signals in this fashion and make sure that we're not chasing wins that are not beating the control. So 3 components here as I wrap up. Number 1 is name the layer. Number 2 is, what's number 2? Number 2 is, number 3 is compare against control. Wait, 1 is, we'll just remember those 2 at the very least. Come see the booth at Citation Labs for that second one. I'll give it to you. Thank you very much for your time.